"You're not on the deed, Maya. You never were." My sister said this to me while standing in my living room, wearing my bathrobe, drinking coffee from my favorite mug. The mug I'd bought myself in Barcelona 3 years ago. The bathrobe I'd left hanging in the master bathroom of my condo. The condo I owned outright. The condo I hadn't stepped foot in for 6 months because I'd been traveling for work and trusted her to water my plants once a week. She held up a piece of paper. Official looking. County seal in the corner. My name and hers side by side with the words joint tenancy with right of survivorship typed neatly beneath. "I've been here for months," Brooke continued, setting down the mug on my marble countertop without a coaster. "I've built a life here. You can't just throw family out on the street." I looked at that document. I looked at my sister. I looked at the stack of mail on the counter with names I didn't recognize and return addresses from credit card companies I'd never used. Then I smiled, because I knew something Brooke didn't. I knew exactly what she'd done, how she'd done it, and precisely how it was all about to collapse around her, like a house of cards in a hurricane. My name is Maya Thornton. I'm 32 years old, and I'm the regional sales director for one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the Southwest. I manage a team of 47 representatives across Texas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico. Last year, my division generated $28 million in revenue, and I took home a bonus that would make most people's eyes water. I own a 2-bedroom condo in downtown Austin that I bought with cash 4 years ago, back when the market was still reasonable, and I'd been saving every penny since I was 24. I'm telling you this not to brag, but so you understand something important. I earned every single thing I have. No one gave me anything. No one co-signed a loan. No one handed me a down payment. I built my life brick by brick while my younger sister Brooke watched from the sidelines, waiting for someone else to build hers. If you've ever had a family member who thought your success was somehow also theirs to spend, who believed that blood meant they were entitled to whatever you'd worked for, then you already know where the story is going. Hit that subscribe button and stick around, because what Brooke did to me and what happened to her because of it is something you won't want to miss. Let me take you back to where it really started. Brooke is 3 years younger than me. Growing up in Waco, she was the baby, the pretty one, the one who could cry her way out of any consequence. I was the responsible one, the one who got straight A's and worked at the grocery store on weekends while Brooke went to parties, the one who got a full scholarship to UT Austin while Brooke barely graduated high school and bounced between community college and various passion projects that our parents funded with money they claimed they didn't have when I needed help with textbooks. I'm not bitter about this. I'm really not. I accepted a long time ago that my parents saw Brooke and me differently. Mom always said Brooke was sensitive and needed extra support. Dad just wrote checks because it was easier than having a conversation. And I learned that if I wanted something, I'd have to get it myself, which I did. I graduated summa cum laude. I got hired at Bristol & Howe Pharmaceuticals right out of college. I worked 70-hour weeks for years, living in a studio apartment, driving a 12-year-old Honda, putting money away while my friends were traveling, and buying houses they couldn't afford. By 30, I'd saved enough to buy my condo outright. No mortgage, no debt, just mine. Brooke, meanwhile, had been through 2 failed businesses, both funded by our parents. A jewelry line that never got off the ground. A yoga studio that closed after 8 months. She'd lived in 4 different cities, always following some boyfriend or some dream that evaporated the moment it required actual work. At 29, she was back in Austin, sleeping on our cousin's couch and talking about her next big idea: a boutique clothing store. I should have seen the warning signs then, but she was my sister. And when she asked if she could stay at my condo for just a few weeks while I was traveling for work in early January, I said yes. I even gave her a spare key. That was 6 months ago. I was gone constantly. Asia Pacific expansion meetings, national sales conferences, regional territory reviews. I'd check in with Brooke occasionally by text, and she'd send photos of my plants thriving, my kitchen clean, my condo looking exactly as I'd left it. She'd thank me profusely. She'd tell me I was the best sister in the world. I believed her. My friend Denise didn't. Denise Chen has been my closest friend since our freshman year at UT. She's a real estate attorney now, one of the best in Austin, and she has what I can only describe as a finely tuned sense for when something isn't right. We'd been having lunch in March when I mentioned Brooke was still at my place, and Denise had gone quiet in that way she does when she's thinking something she doesn't want to say. What? I'd asked. Nothing. Just, she'd stirred her iced tea. You've checked on things, right? Like, actually checked? She sends me pictures. Everything looks fine. Have you logged into your security cameras? I hadn't. I'd disabled the indoor cameras when Brooke moved in because I thought it would be weird to have them running while she was there. A privacy thing, a trust thing. Just keep an eye on things, Denise had said. I'm sure it's fine, but maybe pop in unexpectedly when you're back in town. I filed it away. Denise was cautious by nature. It was what made her good at her job. But Brooke was my sister. The trip that changed everything was supposed to be a quick 2-day visit to our Dallas office in early June. I'd planned to stay at a hotel, handle my meetings, and fly back out. But the second day ended early when our VP canceled the afternoon session, and I found myself with an unexpected free afternoon and a rental car. Austin was only 3 hours away. I could stop by the condo, see Brooke, maybe take her to dinner, surprise her. I didn't call ahead. That was the first smart decision I'd made in 6 months. I pulled into the parking garage at 3:47 in the afternoon. I remember the time because I checked my phone as I got out of the car, wondering if I should text Brooke to let her know I was close. I decided against it. A surprise would be fun. The elevator took me to the 14th floor. I walked down the familiar hallway, put my key in the lock, and opened the door to my condo. 2 strangers were standing in my kitchen. A man and a woman, mid-30s, both in expensive athleisure wear. They had suitcases by the door. They had takeout containers on my counter. They were looking at me like I was the intruder. "Who are you?" the woman asked. "Who are you?" I replied. The man held up his phone. "We have a reservation. Airbnb. This is the Thornton luxury downtown, right?" I felt the blood drain from my face. "Show me that." He turned the phone toward me. There it was, my condo, my furniture, my view of the Austin skyline, listed on Airbnb at $4,500 per month. Host name, B. Thornton. "How long have you been here?" I asked. 4 days. We're booked for 2 weeks. I scrolled through the listing. The reviews went back 6 months. 6 months of 5-star reviews praising the gorgeous downtown condo and the responsive host. 6 months of strangers sleeping in my bed, using my towels, sitting on my couch. I did the math in my head. $4,500 a month for 6 months was $27,000. That's how much my sister had made renting out my home without my knowledge. "Where's the host?" I asked. "Where's Brooke?" The man shrugged. "She said she'd be out of town this week. She dropped off the keys and left." I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something. Instead, I took a breath, smiled at the confused guests, and told them there had been a mistake, a family emergency. They'd receive a full refund. Then I called Denise. I need you to pull every document you can find on my condo, I said. Deed, title, everything, and I need it now. Denise didn't ask questions. She heard something in my voice and just said, I'll have it in an hour. I spent that hour walking around downtown Austin, trying to keep my hands from shaking. $27,000. My sister had stolen $27,000 from me. My sister had let strangers into my home for 6 months. My sister had lied to me with photographs and thank you texts, and you're the best sister in the world. When Denise called back, her voice was tight. Maya, we have a problem. What kind of problem? There's a document filed with the county 2 months ago. It shows a modification to your deed, adding Brooke as a joint tenant. That's not possible. I didn't sign anything. I know. I've seen your signature 100 times. The one on this document isn't yours. But it's filed. It's official. And until we can prove it's forged, Brooke has a legal claim to your property. I stopped walking. I was standing outside a coffee shop on Congress Avenue watching people go about their normal days, and I felt like the ground had opened up beneath me. She forged my signature, I said. It looks that way. Maya, this is serious. This is real estate fraud. It's a felony. What do? You call a meeting, you confront her, and you bring me with you. I didn't confront Brooke that day. Denise talked me out of it. We needed evidence. We needed documentation. We needed to do this right, because if we went in half prepared, Brooke would have time to cover her tracks. So I waited. I got a hotel room. I logged back into my security system and reactivated the cameras. And that night, I watched as my sister returned to my condo, settled onto my couch, and opened her laptop. I couldn't see the screen, but I could see her face, the satisfied smile, the complete lack of guilt. I slept maybe 3 hours. The next morning, I started pulling records, bank statements, credit reports, everything I could access online. What I found made the Airbnb scam look like a parking ticket. There were 3 credit cards I'd never opened, all in my name, all with my social security number. One from Chase with a $25,000 limit, maxed out. One from Capital One at $18,000, maxed out. One from American Express at $20,000, maxed out. $63,000 in debt, in my name, for purchases I'd never made. I called Denise again. Identity theft, she said, on top of the real estate fraud. Maya, your sister didn't just steal from you. She tried to become you. What was she buying? You'll need to get the statements, but based on the timing, Denise paused. Didn't you say she wanted to open a boutique? I pulled the statements. It took 2 days of phone calls and fraud department conversations, but I got them. The charges told a story. Inventory purchases from clothing wholesalers, lease payments for a commercial space on South Lamar, interior design consultants, website development, marketing services. Brooke had funded her entire boutique launch with credit cards she'd opened in my name. And based on the business license I found with a quick search, that boutique had opened in February, operated for 3 months, and closed in May. A failed business. Again. But this time, she'd stuck me with the bill. I'm a planner by nature. It's what makes me good at my job. I don't react emotionally. I don't make moves without thinking 3 steps ahead. So even though everything in me wanted to drive to my condo and drag my sister out by her hair, I didn't. I built my case instead. I got a forensic document examiner to analyze the forged deed modification. I filed fraud reports with all 3 credit card companies. I contacted the Austin Police Department and opened a case file. I gathered 6 months of Airbnb transaction records that Denise was able to subpoena through her firm's connections. I documented everything. My cousin Lauren helped. She'd never liked Brooke much. Too many borrowed dresses never returned. Too many promised dinners never attended. When I told her what was happening, she wasn't surprised. I heard her on the phone last week, Lauren said. She was telling someone that the condo was basically hers now, that you traveled so much you'd never notice, that by the time you figured it out, she'd have enough money to make it official. Make what official? I don't know. But she sounded so confident, Maya, like she'd won something. That conversation gave me the final piece I needed. Brooke didn't know I knew. She thought she had time. She thought I was still blindly trusting, still the responsible older sister who'd never cause a scene. She was about to learn otherwise. I scheduled the confrontation for a Saturday morning. I told Brooke I was coming by to discuss something important and asked if she'd be home. She said yes. She even sounded cheerful about it, probably assuming I wanted to talk about extending her stay. Denise came with me. So did a process server named Marcus, who waited in the hallway with a manila envelope containing several documents that Brooke was going to become very familiar with. I knocked on my own front door. Brooke opened it with a smile. Maya, you should have told me you were coming. The place is a mess. It wasn't a mess. It was immaculate, professionally cleaned, probably by someone she'd hired with money from renting my home. Can we come in? Brooke's smile flickered when she saw Denise. Who's this? My attorney. The smile died, but Brooke recovered quickly. She always did. She stepped aside and let us in, already composing her face into something innocent, something confused. Attorney? Maya, what's going on? Is everything okay? I didn't sit down. Neither did Denise. We stood in my living room, in the home I'd bought with money I'd earned through years of sacrifice, and I looked at my sister for what I knew would be one of the last times. I know about the Airbnb, I said. Brooke blinked. What? I know you've been renting out my condo for 6 months. I know you've made at least $27,000 doing it. I know you let strangers into my home while you lied to me about taking care of it. Maya, I can explain. I was just trying to make some money while you were gone. I was going to tell you. Were you also going to tell me about the deed modification? Her face went pale. Just for a second. Then she pulled out the paper she'd shown me before. The forged document. That's not forged, she said. You signed it. I didn't. And I have a forensic document examiner who will testify to that in court. You committed real estate fraud, Brooke. That's a second-degree felony in Texas. Up to 20 years. Brooke's hands were shaking now. She set the paper down. And the credit cards, I continued. 3 of them, $63,000, all in my name for your failed boutique. I was going to pay you back. With what? The boutique closed. The money's gone. Family helps family, Maya. Mom and Dad always said that. I laughed. I couldn't help it. It just came out. This bitter, exhausted sound. Family helps family. You know what I've given this family, Brooke? I paid off Mom's medical bills when she had her gallbladder surgery. $8,000. I covered Dad's car repairs when his transmission blew. $3,000. I co-signed a lease for you when no landlord would take you because you'd been evicted twice. I let you stay in my home, rent-free for 6 months. I've helped this family my entire life. And what did you do? You stole from me. You forged my signature. You tried to take my home. Brooke's eyes were wet now. The tears were starting. The weapon she'd used her entire life. I didn't have a choice, she said. You have everything. You have this amazing job and this beautiful condo and all this money, and I have nothing. I'm almost 30 years old, and I have nothing. You had choices, Brooke. You chose not to work. You chose to let other people fund your dreams. You chose to commit fraud instead of asking me for help honestly. Would you have helped me? I helped you stay here for free for 6 months. But would I have given you $63,000 for a boutique with no business plan and no experience? No, because I earned that money, and you had no right to take it. Brooke looked at Denise, maybe hoping for an ally. Denise's face was stone. What do you want? Brooke asked quietly. I nodded at Denise, who handed me the first document. This is a 30-day notice to vacate. You'll leave my condo within 30 days, or I'll pursue a formal eviction. Brooke took the paper. This is a letter acknowledging your fraudulent deed modification. You'll sign it in front of a notary, and Denise will file it with the county to restore my sole ownership. Another paper. This is a payment agreement for the $63,000 in credit card debt. You'll make monthly payments until it's repaid in full with interest. Brooke looked at the number at the bottom. $800 a month? I can't afford that. Get a job. And if I don't sign? Then I give everything I have to the police. The forged documents, the fraud reports, the Airbnb records, your own words to Lauren about how the condo was basically yours, and you go to prison. Brooke was crying for real now. Ugly crying, the kind she'd perfected as a child when she wanted to get out of trouble. Maya, please, I'm your sister. You stopped being my sister when you tried to steal my home. The silence stretched. Brooke wiped her face with the back of her hand. She looked at the papers. She looked at me. Fine, she whispered. I'll sign. She did. Every document. Denise witnessed. Marcus notarized from the hallway. It took 20 minutes, and by the end, Brooke looked like something had been carved out of her. You have 30 days, I said. Don't contact me again after that. I walked out of my own condo and didn't look back. The fallout was swift and brutal. Brooke tried to get our parents to intervene. Mom called me 3 times in the first week, leaving voicemails about how I was destroying the family and being cruel to someone who just made mistakes. Dad texted once, "Can we talk about this?" I didn't respond to any of them. Brooke missed her first payment, then her second. On the 3rd month, I turned everything over to the police. The investigation didn't take long. Brooke had kept terrible records, made no effort to hide her tracks, and had apparently bragged about her investment property to multiple people who were happy to speak with investigators. She was charged with real estate fraud, identity theft, and credit card fraud. The district attorney, who had apparently seen this kind of family betrayal before, was not sympathetic. Brooke pleaded guilty to avoid trial. She received 2 years of probation, mandatory community service, and full restitution. The judge was clear that any violation would result in prison time. The probation meant she couldn't leave the state, couldn't get a passport, couldn't apply for any job that required a background check, which was most of them. The restitution meant that whatever money she did manage to earn would go toward paying me back for years, possibly decades. Her boyfriend, who I later learned had been in on the boutique scheme and had been living part-time in my condo with her, left the moment things got legal, moved to California, blocked her on everything. Our parents were devastated, but not in the way you might expect. They were devastated that I'd let it come to this, that I'd chosen strangers in uniforms over family, They couldn't understand why I wouldn't just forgive her, write off the debt, let bygones be bygones. She's your sister, Mom said the last time we spoke. She was, I replied. Now she's someone who committed felonies against me. That's how she chose to define our relationship. I haven't spoken to my parents since. That was 8 months ago. I hear through Lauren that they've been struggling. Turns out they'd co signed on Brooke's commercial lease for the boutique, and when it failed, they were on the hook for the remaining 8 months. $14,000 they didn't have. They sold their car to cover it. I could have helped them. Old Maya would have. But old Maya let her trust be weaponized against her. Old Maya spent her life bailing out people who saw her success as a resource to be extracted rather than an achievement to be respected. New Maya has boundaries. I got my condo back. I had it deep cleaned by professionals, changed every lock, installed a new security system with cameras I actually monitor. I donated the bathrobe Brooke had worn. I threw away the mug. Some things you can't uncontaminate. I sold the place 6 months. Later, too many memories, too many nights lying in bed, wondering who had slept there before, what strangers had done in my home. I bought a house instead, a little craftsman bungalow in Travis Heights with a garden and a fence, and neighbors who wave when I pull into my driveway. I still travel for work, but less now. I promoted one of my best reps to assistant director, and she handles more of the regional trips, while I focus on strategy. It's better balance. It's a life that has room for more than just work. Denise came over last weekend for dinner. We sat on my back porch drinking wine while the sun set over the hills, and she asked if I regretted how things had turned out. With Brooke? With all of it. Your parents, the estrangement, everything. I thought about it. Really thought about it. I regret that it was necessary, I said finally. I regret that my sister is the kind of person who would do what she did. I regret that my parents are the kind of people who would excuse it. But do I regret what I did in response? No. I protected myself. I enforced consequences. I stopped being someone who could be stolen from. That's healthy, Denise said. It's necessary. We clinked glasses. Last month, I got a letter, handwritten, forwarded from my old condo address to my new house. It was from Brooke. She's working at a call center now, making $12 an hour, living in a studio apartment on the east side. She wrote 3 pages about how sorry she was, how she understood now what she'd done, how she hoped someday I could forgive her. The last line said, "You're still my sister." That has to mean something. I read the letter twice. Then I put it in a drawer. Maybe someday I'll respond. Maybe years from now, when the debt is paid and the probation is over, and enough time has passed, that the wound isn't quite so raw. Maybe then I'll be ready to have a conversation about what family means and whether some bridges can be rebuilt. But not yet. Not while I'm still finding mail from credit card companies she applied to in my name. Not while I'm still paying the forensic accountant who untangled the mess she made of my credit. Not while I still wake up sometimes at 3 a.m., heart pounding, dreaming of strangers in my kitchen. Trust isn't a renewable resource. Once it's gone, it's gone. I learned that lesson at 32 in a condo I'd bought with my own money, facing a sister who thought blood meant entitlement. I learned it standing in my living room watching her cry, knowing that every tear was calculated, every sob was a strategy. I learned that family isn't what you're born into, it's what you build, and sometimes building means tearing down first. My garden is blooming now. Tomatoes, peppers, herbs I've never grown before. I spend my Saturday mornings out there with my hands in the dirt, creating something from nothing, watching things grow because I tend them. Brooke's letter sits in a drawer. The tomatoes keep ripening. I sleep just fine.